Commissioner Dotson, could you call the roll, please?
Perkins is absent. Graham Hudak. Green.
Present.
Engel.
Here.
Okran.
Here.
Zuber is absent, and Dotson is present.
Okay, and of course, we have our township planners, Angela Wilashevitz and Jeff Goulet. Welcome, and welcome to you all here, and welcome to everyone that will ultimately see this on the tapes. We have 3 items tonight. One is a public hearing, and I will say that public hearings are just that. They offer the public an opportunity to express themselves at the podium. We ask that you fill out one of our forms so that we know who you are, and then when you get to the dais, state your name and address, and then whatever you have to say. Before we get to that, however, we did meet on April 3rd, and so we have minutes concerning that meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd by Commissioner Engel and seconding by Commissioner Dotson. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. We have, as I said, an agenda tonight consisting of 3 items. Is there anything from staff to add to that?
I just have under reports and correspondence, staff would like to discuss the action plan for the master plan update.
Okay. Anything from the commission? Okay, so with the small addition at the end, and actually it's just part of our normal agenda, reports and correspondence, any motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Dotson and support by Commissioner Oken. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along. Our first agenda item tonight is the Church of Jesus Christ, where we're considering a site plan and special land use. It's for a religious institution, and this property, subject property, is located at the northwest corner of Warren and Ridge Roads. Angela, could you tell us more about that, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The project sponsor proposes to locate a religious institution, as you mentioned, on the parcels identified at the northwest corner of Warren and Ridge Roads. Special land use approval was previously granted for this property and approved by the Board of Trustees at their meeting of September 23rd of 2014, but the special land use approval has since expired. Tonight before you is both the special land use and the site plan being considered. Responses to the special land use criteria were included with your packet. The approval will not result in a residential use being surrounded by non-residential uses. All public utilities are available to the site. The site is being designed to minimize impact on the existing natural features. Detrimental effects will be mitigated by conformance with required landscaping and lighting design standards. Included in your packet was a map illustrating trip origin for congregants and the traffic study. There are currently 111 members. Hours of operation would be daily 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. with activities on Wednesday and Saturday evenings and Sundays morning to midday. As I mentioned, the site plan is also being considered. The layout conforms to the specific requirements of Article 6.02U, which is the design guidelines for religious institutions, with the exception of the requirement for access to a paved road. Consultation with Wayne County DPS indicated that access would not be permitted to Warren Road, as the drive would be too close to the Warren Ridge intersection. The applicant approached the Zoning Board of Appeals and obtained a variance that would permit them to have their access on Ridge Road instead of on Warren. This was accomplished at the March 9th, 2017 meeting. The configuration of the drive entrance and the treatment of the Natural Beauty Road will be determined by Wayne County as part of their access permit process. A modification is being requested to omit the required raised berm along the west and north property lines. The north one is partially there towards the east side of the site and not towards the west side. And they are asking that you consider existing plant material as satisfying a portion of the landscape requirement and accept that in combination with the supplemental plantings that are shown on the landscape plan as meeting the ordinance intent for screening. They're also requesting a modification to omit the required loading space. Typically, the ordinance requires a 10-foot by 50-foot loading space, which would accommodate a tractor-trailer. They do not need space. They won't be receiving deliveries in that nature. A written request for both those modifications was included with your analysis, and staff does support those requested modifications. Prior to consideration of the site plan and special land use by the Board of Trustees, the revisions listed need to be addressed in revised plan submissions. The dumpster enclosure detail has to be revised to conform to ordinance standards. The height of the lighting detail must be reduced to the height of the building as measured at the midpoint of the roof line. And the exterior material proportions that were included, they were included in your packet in letter format. Those need to be transferred to the architectural sheet. And also a more complete description of the ZBA variance needs to be added to the site plan sheet. Staff recommends approval of the special land use request and the site plan, including the requested modifications, and also conditioned upon the plans being revised to address those items prior to consideration by the Board of Trustees. Mr. Buffa is here and other members of the church to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Angela. And if we could ask the project sponsor to come on up to the dais. And while he's doing that, do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Graham Hudak and support by Commissioner Oken. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Welcome.
Welcome.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. My name is Phil Buffa, and I'm the head trustee of the Church of Jesus Christ.
Did you have anything you want to add, or can we just go ahead and go to the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, all right. With that said, we're going to go to the audience and ask if there are any public comments that someone would like to make. Okay. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Linda Brakey. I live on Ridge Road. Could you just clarify again for us the plans for the landscaping on that would be the east side?
Hi,
Hello, who are you?
I'm Felino Pasquale. I'm the landscape architect. So you're referring to along Ridge Road then?
Yes, I am.
If you could speak closer to the microphone. Yeah.
So in terms of what would you want some clarification, I guess?
Well, it looks like, on the picture, it looked like some nice shrubs and bushes and things. And I was trying to figure out, are they going to leave all the natural vegetation that's there along Ridge?
I believe it just depends on what Wayne County is requested, but anything from the right-of-way, which is going west, will be disturbed because of some of the berm requirement that the township is asking for. So this whole Ridge Road frontage will have an undulating freeform berm. And that's supplemented with some landscaping, which includes a variety of trees, evergreen trees, and shrubs as well.
Okay.
So, you know, the large circles, these are canopy trees. They could be a variety of maples and oaks. And then we're also proposing some spruces. These are evergreen trees right
Okay.
here. And then at the entrance is accentuated with some junipers and some flowering shrubs that will be along the whole frontage here.
Okay, so that tangle of jungle that's there now will be gone.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
because of grading and things like that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Dick Dion. I live at 50360 Warren Road. And of course, you've heard me on this subject before. In September 2014, when the special land use question came up the first time, I spoke in favor of granting permission for the construction of a church in lieu of other uses for this site. I stand by that position this evening. I have questions as well about the site plan, fairly extensive ones, perhaps, I'm not sure. I have taken a look at the site plans, though what I saw was not in color. This is lovely.
We've upgraded.
Okay. And I suffer from not being an architect and not always understanding what I'm looking at. One of the things I did look at, however, and thought I understood was the proposal for the plantings. And as Linda Brakey just caused us all to understand, basically what exists on Ridge Road along the roadside will no longer exist.
That
That there-
depends,
No,
that
there-
depends on what, since it's a Wayne County Natural Beauty Road, they're gonna be the ones who determine what's in the right-of-way there and what these folks can or cannot do. This is
Angela,
something-
I'm not going off in a, I'm not going to get upset about this.
No, I just, because what Joel's talking about is what is going to be on their private
On their- yeah.
property. So what's gonna happen in the right-of-way is yet to be determined, and we don't have any real say over that since that designation was a county designation.
Is there a way
I
of,
mean, Dick, they're not proposing to do anything in the right-of-way other than the driveway improvements.
Right.
So it depends on what they need to do to grade from the right-of-way line into their property. So that, that's what, right now, so the natural vegetation in the right-of-way should stay for the most part. They shouldn't be disturbing any work in the, so the county will give them a permit for work in the right-of-way. We don't know how much work is in the right-of-ways at this point is done until they engineer it.
is there one of the plans that shows the landscape design?
Here's the black and white one.
What it doesn't show you is what might be in the right-of-way, because they're only showing what's on their property, Dick. They're not showing what's in the right-of-way currently. The hard line, it jogs. That's the line, and then it jogs over to the center line, because not all the right-of-way has been granted yet. So that line that your finger is on is the current right-of-way line for Ridge Road at that location. Then it jogs over to the middle and then up, because the rest of that is statutory right-of-way.
So the township required berms would be on
Their property.
their property?
They can't put a berm on county right-of-way.
Okay.
All the improvements that they would be proposing are on their property, other than the driveway exit onto Ridge Road.
It's interesting because this does present,
What you don't see here is they don't show any of the existing vegetation in the right-of-way.
Right,
They didn't.
okay. Yeah,
That'll
I-
show up on the tree survey, when they get that far.
no. And based on the tree survey that I looked at, there wasn't much of anything of any value. Is that correct? Most of the trees were, yeah. Is what exists compatible with what
Joel,
you're?
why don't you go up to the microphone so we can catch you?
Is what exists compatible with what you're proposing?
What we're proposing is a little bit better quality trees. What you have there right now is probably some elms,
Oh, yeah,
some
yeah.
cottonwoods. And so what we're proposing, as I mentioned, is we are providing some maples, oaks, varieties of ornamental trees. So to probably help you out a little bit here.
Yeah. No, that part I understand. I'm only concerned, and I will leave this point now because I
Dick, are you
understand
concerned
it is
that-
up to the county.
Would
to
you
de-
prefer that they grade the area out and get rid of all of the scrub, or do you want the natural stuff to remain? Part of the reason why it's a natural beauty rate is because you guys wanted all the scrub to remain, right?
Oh, I understand that.
Okay.
And I'm not taking a position on
No,
this.
we need to know why you're asking, though,
Yeah.
so.
I think, let's just say my lack of understanding of what was affected by this plan.
Right.
I understand now.
Currently, most of the work will be from the right-of-way back.
Yep.
Unless the county is requesting some other items in there, but typically it would be just this approach. You know,
Okay.
That's what we would
Yep.
be doing.
Okay, got that. Good, thank you. However.
Yeah, we want to make
on-
sure everybody understands what's going on along the roadway, so.
However, on the subject of the planting, I looked at the planting list, particularly for what you're proposing around the detention pond.
Yes.
And I commend you highly for the species you've selected.
Thank you.
With good maintenance, that should be a very good site.
It is, and not only that, I think Wayne County has a very stringent planting requirements when it comes to the detention pond, along with Canton. Kent has specific requirements, and it's kind of spelled out with specific trees. And then Wayne County extends that, wanted to do some seed mix, naturalized seed mix in the detention pond to complement all the other landscape requirements in
That-
there.
that-
So
that's
it's making
good.
it look kind of natural.
That's good. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and something I really didn't understand from the plan, even more than the landscape plan, is the lighting. Angela mentioned that there already has been a modification to the height.
They need to lower the lights.
They need to lower
Right.
what they show on the plans is too tall.
Yeah, okay. Is there a way, is there a plan that shows the lighting?
The fixture or the locations?
Locations.
Look at the center islands there, Dick. There's 3 islands in the parking lot on the north side and the south side of the parking lot. You'll see a double-headed fixture in the center island on both of those. Those are the only fixtures
And then these two
there.
over here.
And, yeah, 2 on the edge there.
Here.
Well, there'll be like security lighting over doors and things, yeah.
Can you go back to the smaller, or the whole plan, Jeff?
Then they have to have, there's 2 lights near their entrance at Ridge Road, just to
Okay.
light up the driveway,
Over here.
where the symbols are.
Is there any additional lighting on Ridge Road?
Oh,
No.
Okay, that is what I wanted to inquire about.
well, and what everybody needs to realize is that from Ridge Road up to the site, the top of the berm and their parking lot, due to the height of the property from the Ridge Road base, is about it ranges from like 8 to 10 feet from Ridge Road to the top of the berm. So it's, the berm won't look that tall from inside the site, but it looks tall from, basically, nobody will see the parking lot at all from Ridge Road because of the height differential between where the parking lot is and where Ridge Road sits.
And from the plan, I noted that the building height is 24 feet to the top of the ridge line, so that means the lights would not be higher than
Correct.
12?
They have to be the height of the midpoint of the roof.
Mid, okay, so it could be
Around 18 feet.
two-thirds of the height.
Yeah.
Okay, I think my questions are answered. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Come on up.
Again, it's Linda Brakey from 7835 Northridge Road. And I'm not sure that my questions can be answered, and I'm sorry, Mr. Goulet, I'm not really sure that I understand. How far does the right-of-way that you call it, how far does that go into what I consider their property, which I guess is not their property? Is it from the center of the road or
Well,
something?
just like all the properties along Ridge Road, most of them just still have statutory right-of-way, which is 33 feet from the center line. Okay, the ultimate right-of-way from Ridge Road is bigger, so you'll see that ultimate right-of-way line, if you go to the color map. The right-of-way line actually jogs. See the red line? See the red line on the plan?
It's in the center.
That's the center line.
Where is the road then?
This is the road right here.
So that's right, okay. So we don't know what's going to happen in the right-of-way yet? And that's
Right,
something.
if they don't need to
Correct.
touch it, they're not going to touch it. The only thing that they should be touching would be the driveway area.
Their own property and the drive.
Okay,
You'll have the existing road,
yep,
the scrub and the right-of-way, and then their landscaping.
okay. That's what
Okay.
I just wanted to confirm
Okay.
because that scrub area is so wet.
Right, well, it's part of, it's in the ditch, yeah.
Pardon me?
Then whatever ditch exists along Ridge Road.
Yes,
so.
yes. I know this because Mrs. Moore helped me clean a couple weeks ago and she fell in it.
Oh.
Bottom first.
Yeah, we don't know whether or not the Wayne County will require any ditch improvements when they do, there probably might be some improvements that they have to do north and south of the driveway when they put the driveway in. But, with it not being a natural beauty road, Wayne County in itself has to evaluate, what's going to impact, how much of the vegetation is going to be impacted with that improvement.
And is there a public hearing for those types of things for Wayne County or no?
I
Or
don't
is it just their
believe so.
decision?
It's just part of their permitting process.
I do
I
want
think they have the ability to put the neighbors on notice that there's an improvement happening in case you guys want to comment on it as part of the natural beauty road process. But it's probably been quite a while since Wayne County's gone through that process, and they probably don't even understand the process any longer. It's a whole different group of people down there, and they probably haven't ever been through the process.
I know I spoke at the last meeting, I just want to clarify from the last meeting, my interest was in paving. It is not for paving the entirety of Ridge Road with the road condition, which the same potholes have been at that junction of the concrete for the last 2 months, I think. I still have an interest in seeing it paved from Warren Avenue just to their driveway, not any further. And I understand that that's something that you can address, but I just wanted to clarify that I was not looking for Ridge Road to be paved. I like it unpaved. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments again. Anyone else?
To close the public hearing?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Sorry, was there one more? No? Okay.
Oh, okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing by Commissioner Oken and support by Commissioner Dotson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to go to the commission. I'm going to start down with Commissioner Graham Hudak. Did you have any comments or questions or anything that concerns you?
A couple of things. Thank you. Thank you for all the information, Angela and Jeff. In terms of a natural beauty road, could you tell me what that means? I mean, I know we did get a letter here from one of the residents saying that a natural beauty road implies low usage and volumes. Do you know what the maximum traffic is for natural beauty roads?
I don't think there's any particular standard. These were designated, a section of Warren and a section of Ridge were designated natural beauty roads based on the effort of the Northwest Canton Homeowners Association probably 23 years ago. What it does, all it does is afford some additional protection to things that would impact the vegetation along the roadway. It does not necessarily indicate that it can't be paved. If the county warrants it to be paved, then they'll either require, paving or they'll, pave it at a later point in time. Generally, the threshold for paving from a maintenance standpoint, the threshold that we use when we look at projects is 1,000 trips per day. So that's generally a point where it's very difficult to maintain. I think a good example of that is Ridge Road south of Warren Road. Probably meets that criteria, and that's why the township has been working with the county to try to get an agreement together to pave that section from Ford up to Warren. I think, Angela, the traffic study for this one shows what's the average traffic. I think it's in your packet on what the average daily traffic on this section of Ridge Road is pretty low. So,
Let me know, though, in terms of, actually, a couple things. In terms, some of the residents are asking if they want to have input to the Wayne County decision. Is there an address we can give them that they can at least write to have input?
well, it'll be the permit office in Wayne, the Wayne County Department of Public Services on Michigan Avenue in Wayne. I'm not sure, right hand, we probably have a link to it on engineering's website, but they can contact engineering, and since engineering will be taking this through the permitting process, and they'll have to wait until they get the permit from Wayne County before we release any plans, the engineering department would be coordinating with Wayne County, so it would be the permit office.
Okay, since basically they said that they could not have access on Warren Road, is there a possibility that since they haven't looked at the Ridge Road Drive, that they could say no to that also? Is there a possibility with that?
Basically, as part of their review, they said, they can't say you can't have access, period. So they have to, if they don't allow it on Warren, they have to allow it on Ridge. So essentially, I think, Angela, was it 320 feet?
Right.
Yeah, they have to be 320 feet from the intersection to meet Wayne County standards for a driveway from the intersection. I think the issue with the Warren Road one was because there's already turn lanes on Warren Road, that driveway would have come out in the middle of where the turn lanes are, because there's a stacking lane, and, there's a center turn lane there at Warren Road intersection. So they felt that that was too close, because it would have only been like 120, 150 feet from the intersection. So that's why this driveway is where it's the closest portion to meet Wayne County standards without a modification that Wayne County allows. So basically, we made them go through a traffic study. We made them get with Wayne County, before they came here. So we wanted to know where the driveway could be from a realistic standpoint. And this is where Wayne County said they could have it.
Since it's a natural beauty road on a Sunday during a service, will they be able to get out in the snow on that driveway? I don't know how often they plow natural beauty roads in the winter.
Well, they might have to plow it down to Warren Road. So they don't plow Warren Road either, do they?
No, it's a dirt road. A couple other questions. So this was approved previously in 2014. So at that time, I know that we encouraged the residents to meet with the builders and whoever's building. Was that done in 2014? Does anyone know?
Dick?
Can you go up to the podium, Dick, please? Can't pick you up on the tape unless you're at the podium. So. Thanks.
Yeah, neighbors met with various members of the Church of Jesus Christ, excuse me, prior to the September 2014 meeting.
Do you remember what were there any concerns raised? Do you remember what they
Well,
were?
with the concerns that were raised, it was a very friendly and useful meeting, gave the neighbors an opportunity to express their dedication to the Natural Beauty Road, which starts on Ridge Road. To be sure, this is perhaps not the most beautiful part of the Natural Beauty Road. As I mentioned before, when I commented on the nature or the sort of plant material that has been selected for the detention pond area, it's clear that the points we made then were heard, understood, and reflected in what's being done. There is an organization called the Northwest Canton Homeowners Association, which hasn't been mentioned yet this evening, at least not by me, which used to be active. It's become less active in recent years. But one of the things that we have done, or had done, was put together some information about the Natural Beauty Road, and I supplied that to the members of the church, and it's very clear that that was taken into account in preparing the plans. So yeah, I think there was a entirely friendly, agreeable meeting. Linda, you were part.
And Anne Marie, the only difference in this plan, really, and the old plan, is that the plan, the original plan did come out to Warren Road, but they hadn't gotten with Wayne County at that point. So in the past several past number of months that we've been working with them, we really wanted to know what Wayne County was going to approve. So they did get with Wayne County to determine what Wayne County was going to approve. So that's why the plan changed from the 2014 plan.
And 3 years ago, we weren't looking at a site plan. We were only considering the special use request.
Thank you. There's also in the residents' email a concern about the pond wetland area at the southeast corner of Warren and Ridge, saying that they were already challenged by storms over the past few years, and building large parking fields immediately upstream might make that situation more detrimental.
Why they have a pond system.
Yeah, well,
Well, the pond system is designed to collect the water from the rooftops of the building and the pond, collect it, and let it run off at a reduced rate. So they can't, the runoff into the natural stream can't be any greater than the natural rate of runoff from the vacant land. So in many cases, these pond systems help to manage water on the property better than it did in its natural state because it controls it before it runs off.
and then the lighting, so there was a concern about the lighting. You're just going to make sure the lighting will just be more down and not into the houses across the street.
Right, it's required to be downward directed with cutoff shields. Just the detail they're showing on the plan is taller than what the ordinance permits. So that's why when you see it at the board level, the light detail will be shorter.
I know, the traffic study looks good, and they were saying, I guess the level of service was B, which we're looking at about 10 to less than 15-second delay maybe during some of these, so that's pretty low usage. But are the residents able to see some of these traffic studies if they want, since they're in the packet? Are they online?
Yeah, they're in the file. Mhm.
All right, thank you.
I'm all set, Greg.
Okay, Commissioner Okan
All set, thank you.
and Commissioner Dotson. Okay, the only concerns that I have, they're site plan issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the direction of the driveway places outgoing vehicles, let's say at night, shining their headlights towards that house at the other subdivision on the east side. Is that,
Well, there's a
I don't know
berm.
how accurate the
There's a
depiction
berm,
is.
there's a berm there.
There is a substantial berm on the other side, on
Yeah,
on
the
the
subdivision
east
has its
side?
own berm. yeah.
Okay, all right, because that would be a concern for me. The other one is more the aesthetics of the building itself. It's a beautiful building, and I understand that the attempt to satisfy the township's requirement of brick necessitated putting the brick on three sides, basically, and leaving the back side with just the split-faced block. I really wish that had been proportioned differently, because it's almost like an attempt to say, well, nobody ever looks at the back of the building. And in Canton, we've said that many times, and 25 years later, regretted that and said, geez, we probably should have done better on the facade facing that side. I wouldn't hold up the project for that, but I really wish that we had seen more brick on that side, and it would have probably necessitated a little bit of different design. Otherwise, it would have been really expensive. I know, and money is always a consideration. But those are the only two concerns. It's a very beautiful building, and I do like the fact that it's set back where it is. I don't think it's going to be obtrusive to anyone. It looks like a very fine project. That's all I have to say. Yep. Anybody have anything to say up here? Like,
Want me to make a motion?
sure, go ahead. What is your pleasure?
I move to recommend approval of the request for special land use to locate a religious institution on parcels 02499000800 and 0009702, based upon the findings that the proposal is in conformance with the general objectives of the master plan and zoning ordinance. All necessary public utilities are available to the site. Approval will not result in a residential use being surrounded by non-residential uses. Peak vehicular traffic will be limited to Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday for the most part, and will not conflict with typical daily peak traffic hours. Detrimental effects will be mitigated by adherence to ordinance standards for landscaping lighting, and site design. And I move to recommend approval of the site plan for the Church of Jesus Christ, including modification to use existing landscaping along the west and north property lines to satisfy ordinance requirements and to omit the required loading area, and conditioned upon revision of the plans to include a corrected dumpster enclosure detail, corrected light detail, exterior material calculations, and description of the variance as granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Take a deep breath. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Dotson and support by Commissioner Oken. Any further discussion on that motion from the commission? Hearing none, seeing none. Commissioner Dotson, would you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Okun?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Graham Hudak?
Yes.
Dotson, yes.
Okay, the motion carries forth to the, it goes to the trustees next, right?
Yes.
After the revisions are made.
After the revisions, exactly, exactly. Okay, and thank you all for your participation tonight. Our second agenda item for the night is a site plan, Westbury Estates. We're considering preliminary and final site plan approval for Westbury Estates, which is located south of Joy Road and west of Beck Road. Jeff, could you tell us more?
Yes, the project sponsor is proposing a 30-unit, single-family residential development on 30.49 acres located south of Joy and west of Beck Road. The minimum lot size under the plan development agreement is 18,000 square feet. They're retaining over 13 acres or 40% of the land area will be maintained an open space area. And much of that area is being replanted with trees to reestablish a wooded area, especially along the south portion of the property where the large open space is. Access is from Joy Road, which eliminates turning movement issues on Beck across from the high school entrance area. This area of Joy Road is fairly low-volume traffic. 30 lots shouldn't have any negligible impact on traffic at that location. The plan development agreement and preliminary site plan was originally approved by the Township Board in March of 2015. The Planning Commission reviewed the final site plan once, but it never ever went back to the board due to some funding and finance issues. So they basically, that all expired, so we required them to come back, and that basically what happened is then the preliminary site plan expired, so that's why you have the preliminary and the final site plan back in front of you. They formally both have to be approved before it moves on to the Township Board. Plan essentially hasn't changed. They did beef up the buffer landscaping along Joy and Beck. We had a change last year in the ordinance requiring some additional evergreen trees for residential projects, so they added those additional trees in the berm areas along Beck and Joy Road. Other than that, the plans are what you saw 2 years ago. The PDD agreement is still active, so they can move forward with the project as soon as they post financial assurances before it goes to the board. So with that, the township would recommend reapproval of the preliminary site plan and approval of the preliminary or the final site plan for Westbury Estates.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a project sponsor here?
And
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Carnahan is here on behalf of
Hey, come on
Centennial
up.
Homes. So.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Jack Carnahan. I'm here on behalf of Centennial Home Group, the sponsor of the project. As Jeff alluded to, we had an approval approximately 2 years ago. We have not been, at the time, we were not successful in securing financing. That appears to be an issue that's been resolved, and so we're ready to move ahead. We need this approval, and then once we post the financial guarantees for the township, we can go to the township board for the final approval.
Okay.
Available to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to start down on this end of the commission. Commissioner Dotson, did you have any comments on this project?
No, I'm all set.
Commissioner Oken?
No, all set, thank you.
Commissioner Engel?
I'm fine, thanks.
Commissioner Graham Hudak?
I have a few questions. So,
Have at it.
since I wasn't here for this original one, in the executive summary, it says that the minimum lot size is 18,000 square feet, and over 13 acres, which is 40% of the land, was maintained in open space, and much of that area is being replanted with trees to reestablish a wooded area. what is much of that area? Do you know how much, what percentage is being replanted?
Well, you see the Center Park area, so there's a lot of trees actually going into the Center Park area. So all of the area along the south here, it has a pathway through it, so all of this area to the south is being replanted, so it won't just be an open field. All the other areas, you've got the pond areas, you've got the pond landscaping, you've got, the berms along Joy and Beck, and then you've got a small landscape up here. But the big, the largest area that's not in between homes is down here in the south edge, is the area that they're actually plugging in a lot of smaller trees to basically reestablish, convert it from a farm field back to, a forested area, basically. Those are native species of trees. So Felino, who was just here on the other project, did the landscape plan for this also. We worked with him on native landscaping, so, Lee Thurston, our office, is happy with the plant materials that have been selected to kind of reestablish, trees throughout the project where there's not home sites.
This was a while ago. Was there a traffic study also done?
There was a traffic evaluation that was done originally. They have their county, permit on Joy Road because it happened about 2 years ago. So when the PDD was done, there was a traffic evaluation. So that's why we consolidated that access onto Joy Road. There's 31 acre, essentially it's 1 unit per acre. It's fairly low density. So what they did is they just clustered the lots to create and maintain the open space on the site. So there's no opposing driveways in Plymouth Township that opposes this driveway. The road was actually paved by Robertson Brothers a number of years ago when the project to the west came in. When the Ravines came in, Robertson Brothers is the developer. The Ravines actually paved that section of Joy Road as a developer improvement as part of their definite benefit. Wayne County hasn't required any additional improvements to that section of Joy Road other than their tapers.
Oh, so it's out on Joy Road. They approved it. They approved the traffic study on Joy Road. They didn't put any lights or anything like that?
Well, this was actually about the same time as the engineering plans were coming through for the repaving and widening of Beck Road. So all that signalization work and all of the improvements on Beck Road got done by the county, 2 years ago.
So with this reapproval, does it have to go to Wayne County again?
No, they have their Wayne County permit already. I think they just had to renew it, so.
Why, because it expired also then?
I'm not sure how long
Or
the
does
county.
not. No, the Wayne County approvals are still valid, I think, until August or September. All we have to do is start construction.
Did you have were there any objections by any of the surrounding neighbors at the time? Were there any external meetings or residential
I
meetings?
don't recall. This is about, when we did this PDD, this was basically the third attempt at a PDD on this site over the past 20 years. So this is the one that was the most successful. It provided the most benefit to the township in terms of kind of the design parameters of the development. So they've got Centennial Homes that I think is actually partnered with the landowner to do this project as part of the LLC. I think the landowner is part of the LLC with the home builder. So.
That's currently, but that's probably going to change. They're trying to buy them out.
Were the unsuccessful attempts before that?
Well, the market wasn't quite right. Right now the market is hot for this size home on this size lot. We've got Pulte doing 20 lots down the street as part of their planned development. They've got 20 lots on 20 acres from a site that they bought from the school district that's called Stone Ridge. That's right adjacent to the Ravines. I think they're pretty much all sold out already and haven't even probably got the model up yet on those. So part of it has to do with the market. The original time that it came in was right before the downturn in the economy, so it sat there until the economy improved. This builder was building in the subdivision along Jide Road. So it was a good market for him, and he wanted to stay in the area, and he wanted to move on to this site. So.
Most of the traffic impact will be along Joy, not so much Beck. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to turn left on Beck. There isn't a whole lot of westbound traffic in the morning, for example, going to work. If they need to get up to Beck to M14, they're taking a left onto Beck, but there's not a whole lot of opposing westbound traffic. Most of it is eastbound traffic in the morning, westbound traffic in the afternoon, so. Okay.
I've just got a couple of questions. The landscaping behind lots 21, or 19, 20, and 21, yeah, right up in there, particularly behind 19 and 20. Was there a reason why there were no trees planned to be planted behind there?
Probably because it's hard to access and maintain, so.
The reason that I ask is that
I mean,
whenever...
there's trees along the lot line. You'll see there's, trees along this lot line already.
Along
here.
that lot
Yeah.
line, right. And my question, it would, and this is not a reflection on the existing residents there, but buffering goes both ways. So if there's some site issues concerning those houses that are there, the houses in 19, 20, and 21 are exposed out of their backs of their houses to see those things. And I just wondered, was there a consideration of putting trees at all behind those houses?
There are berms behind 21 and 22, with planting on the berm. And then behind 19 and 20, there's a small berm behind 18, and then behind 19 and 20, there's some open space. And there was nothing else considered
Right.
at that time, because
So I
it's so
just
far in the
wondered why a
backyard.
tree or two was not planned to be planted back there.
Because it's probably hard to get to because it's kind of isolated.
Okay, it was just, it's a small issue, but it could be a large
What's
issue
going to happen
for
is
the
those
people
two
that live
property
there.
owners are going to take that area over and probably maintain it, I would expect, in the long run.
And then the other issue that I have, and this is something that I guess the township needs to consider as we're developing more and more of these subdivisions, the pathway, which is really great, the pathway to the south in that open area there and the common parkway, I think is really, really great. But do we at all consider connecting pedestrian ways from one subdivision to another? Like, let's say the subdivision to the south and the potential subdivision to the west, where people can walk from one subdivision to another? I'm not interested in vehicular access.
Right. Well, part of the problem is when you got a lot of dead-end cul-de-sacs, there's not anything in between other than going through lots to get there. So there's really not a possibility to connect paths, because when those were done, those were just isolated cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, I suppose this is something that the township would need to look at in terms of requirements, where you maybe necessitate having a slight pathway area
I mean,
to go from
especially
one
like
sub to another.
if we look at the end of the cul-de-sac to the south here, there's not much distance between the end of the cul-de-sac and that open space area. People, I think, are naturally going to gravitate to that path system anyway. So, Autumn Court's kind of tough. These are larger lots, haven't been built on yet. There's really no way to get there other than going through their pond area potentially. So I assume that if those subdivisions wanted to make connections to that path, they could work with the developer or the associations, and I'm sure there'll be some informal connections made to that path system over time.
Yeah, it's something that we may want to consider, for future developments, because, let's say, to go to the west, you'd be totally locked out, because the way it's plotted, you would not have any access. But you'd have to design it. It would have to be something
They'd have to
that
go
would
along
require-
this lot line here across the edge of the pond, and you could potentially get there. So there's potentially a way to get there through this open space where the pond is, to get to that open space area.
Yeah,
So both
hate to-
projects have an opportunity to connect.
Right, I just hate that, we're building these wonderful communities, and they're basically isolated from one another unless you drive to them, which I think community, it goes against the term community.
I think that's why
when
they buy
it comes
those
to
big
that.
lots.
What's that?
That's why they buy those big lots.
Other than that, it looks like a beautiful project, and what are the average square footages of these homes?
I think they're going to be 35 to 4,200 square
4,200?
foot,
Okay.
give or take. The market will determine a great
The
deal.
average house, new house price along Joy Road right now, and that Pulte's building is $650,000 to $750,000. So these will be similar.
We'll be very competitive with that, and everybody that goes to see a Pulte home will be going right by our sub, so that's a really great feature for us.
Good marketing.
Okay, anyone else have any concerns, anything?
Chairman, I move to recommend reapproval of the preliminary site plan and approval of the final site plan for Westbury Estates, located on tax parcels as noted, as proposed, as it is consistent with the plan development agreement provided by the Township Board, approved by the Township Board on March 24th, 2015, subject to obtaining all outside agency permits and providing the required financial assurances prior to final consideration by the Board of Trustees.
Do I hear a motion to support that? All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Engel and support by Commissioner Graham Hudak. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, seeing none. Commissioner Dotson, would you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Okun?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes. Oh, Green.
Jack, I'm sorry. Commissioner Green?
Yes.
And Commissioner Dotson, yes.
Okay, the motion goes forward.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
And just get with me on the escrow agreement or the thing, and then well, I'm not going to schedule before the board until we know when those financial securities are going to be posted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have item number 3, which is the TNT fireworks, where we're considering seasonal sales permit approval on the property which is located south of Ford Road and east of Canton Center, otherwise known as the Meyer parking lot. Jeff, could you tell us more?
Yes, Ms. Wilson is here to represent TNT Fireworks tonight. They're requesting a seasonal sales permit from June 19th to July 8th, 2017, shown in the location shown on the aerial. You have plans in your packet which shows kind of the tent layout and the circulation layout around the tent. These are particular requirements that we have in our code that kind of go beyond what the state requires in terms of setbacks from the street and all of those other kinds of things. You know, Anne Marie asked me some questions last week about this. When we established the seasonal sales permit guidelines, we did it because the state, basically, we weren't happy with the state's guidelines that they provided in state law that they were issuing permits on. Because what will happen is the state will give they'll give a permit to a fireworks vendor based on what the state guidelines are, not what the local guidelines are. So we established the seasonal sales permits, not only for fireworks, but for flower sales and all of those other kinds of seasonal things that happen from time to time. It could be pumpkin sales, it could be Christmas tree sales, but most of the time, most of the ones we get are this time of year for the fireworks sales and for some of the flower sales in the spring. So TNT came in last year. They operated from this location. I think it was fairly successful. We had them locate in a portion of the Meyer parking lot, which was kind of out of the mainstream traffic patterns of the center. So you can tell on in the parking lot plan here, that's not where a lot of the people park, and that's not where a lot of the people are driving. So we wanted to make sure that they didn't compete with the crazy traffic that happens on a Saturday at Meyer. And I think this location was pretty successful, so they've got an agreement with Meyer to locate on this site again this year. Meets the same requirements. I think the fire marshal's happy with the plan. They'll, again, do the inspection this year in lieu of the state doing the inspection to make sure that all of the guidelines are complied with from a safety standpoint, and we would recommend approval. So.
Thank you, Jeff. Did you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I'm Jill Wilson.
Okay.
Fireworks. I don't have anything to add. Obviously, you did a great job of explaining all of it. Same thing as last year.
Same as last year. Okay.
Yeah, I went and met with the Meyer this year after we got the permission letter from Meyer Corporate and all of those documents signed. And I went and met individually with the Meyer store directors and walked out there to the parking lot just to discuss some things with them and just to confirm that they were very happy with, what we did last year and to see if there was anything, we could improve on or do for them or vice versa, and everything was fine.
All right, anything from the commission on this is pretty straightforward. I could ask this favor, though. Could you find out when you're selling to people what subdivision they live in and ask them not, and don't sell to the
People who
my
have dogs.
subdivision.
What subdivision do you live in? I'll
Or
make
tell
a
them they
note of
have to
that.
get,
No,
you
no,
have
no,
to sell
don't worry
dog
about it. No,
earplugs
no,
with
no,
it.
no.
Yeah.
We're not getting cooperation from the state because.
Yeah, he's just
because-
kidding.
Yeah, I am actually
Mr.
kidding.
Chairman, I
Yes.
move to approve a 30-day seasonal sales permit for the TNT Fireworks Company in the Meyer parking lot, parcel as noted, commencing on June 19, 2017, as shown on the plans, and subject to obtaining appropriate permits from building for erection of the tent.
Just a quick question. Jeff, was there any issues last year from the fire department or anything?
I don't believe so. I think they're asking for kind of rigid fencing rather than cones or something this
Yeah,
year.
yes, they are asking for that fencing, and our tent company puts that up. When they set the tent up initially, the first day, that fencing goes up around as well.
Robert's rules say you needed to support that and then ask the question. Just want to let you know this. Are you supporting this?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was your question, right? Any other questions?
Only get one
Yes.
question?
Oh, you have another one? Wow, okay.
Nice. No, I'm assuming that the fire department will tell them exactly how many fire extinguishers to have and where to place them and all that kind of stuff?
There's a fire extinguisher plan as part of their tent plan here.
Yeah, it is in agreement with what the fire department would want, but we have multiple fire extinguishers. We have one for the pressurized water type, and then we have one for the chemical fire extinguisher, and anything else they require, we would provide, but I know that they do require those too.
And just one final question. You state in your letter here that you'll have 2 people present at all times?
Yes.
Does that include non-business hours, non-sale hours at
Yes.
night?
Yep, yes, that we ask them to maintain some type of like security presence 24 hours. It's their responsibility, and even though the sidewalls on the tent will be down during the hours of operation where they're closed, they have to be there, and there has to be 2 people there. It's a
Awake-
requirement.
awake?
Huh? And awake, absolutely awake, yes. No, obviously, we don't want any theft going on,
Right.
for our sake, for our customers that are running the tent, and for anybody else in, Meyer, the community. So that is a requirement for our customers that do run the locations. It's a requirement before they even sign our contracts and stuff. We get all of that situated, and we haven't had a problem with that. Yeah.
No more questions. Thank you.
You're done? All right, okay. Anyone else? I thought you had a question earlier, or?
Actually, Jeff had answered
Has
all of
answered
them,
that?
and then
Okay.
Mr. Hahn can answer
Okay.
more, so.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Engel and support by Commissioner Okan. All in favor, Commissioner Dotson, would you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Graham Hudak,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Okine,
Yes.
Commissioner Dotson, yes.
The motion passes, and congratulations. Although my yes does have a reservation on it.
Does that mean summer's right around the corner?
It is.
I think-
Thank you, I appreciate it, you guys.
Thank
So they tell me.
Okay, thanks. Just,
Yes.
yeah,
Thank
just
you
get
for
with,
coming.
just get with the building department and whatever they need for your permits. Okay.
Okay, we've got some business to send to staff. Wood Springs Suites, Canton, Meadowwood Townhomes Leasing Office. Do I hear a motion to send that to staff? For
move.
review?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oops, come on. There we go. Okay, then we've got a public hearing set for June 5th. Valvoline Lube Center, located north of Michigan Avenue, east of Beck.
Right next to Jimmy John's.
Oh, Jimmy, okay, gotcha. And the Manschlow rezoning. Boy, it's not easy to say.
You
Do I
heard
hear a
that last
motion?
month. We need to rehear that item because there was a mistake in the original advertisement. It should be RA to R2 instead of RR to R2, so our council
We're
recommended that
taking
we
care of
rehear
the
it.
technicality.
Yeah.
Good job, Jeff.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to set that public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, reports, discussion, and correspondence. We need to update our master plan. The question has come up as to gaining input on updating the master plan, and the suggestion came up that we should kind of widen the circle of influence in that we get suggestions, what have you, from a lot of different directions. So Jeff, could you tell us more about what has been discussed?
Right. Every 5 years, by state law, we're required to evaluate our comprehensive plan. So this is our 5-year evaluation period. The last update was November of 2012. We made a few modifications back then. Since we had new census data, we basically updated a lot of the background and analysis of the plan. We don't need to do that this time. But we do have to go through some evaluation process to determine whether or not there's any need to make any changes. So what we discussed, the supervisor and Mr. Green and I sat down last week to figure out what the best way to go about this would be to get it started. And since we have a new board, since they're not familiar with the history of our plan necessarily and what we've done in the past and the process we've gone through, we determined it would probably be best to have like a facilitated workshop between the Planning Commission and board. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Dick Carlisle in, and he's going to facilitate a workshop and try to get ideas, kind of out there so we know what the focus points should be and what kinds of things the Planning Commission should be looking at in the plan in terms of if there's any hot buttons, if there's any, big issues the board has in terms of, the overall land use plan. It could be policies and goals and objectives, that may be the focus. I don't know whether there's any issues with the land use map or not. I have a few things that I want the Planning Commission to take a look at, but in order for us to have just a broad perspective and have everybody kind of talk about it and get to know the plan better, Dick is willing to come in on June 12th if everybody's available to do a joint workshop with the board. And what he'll do is he'll do something like the Recreation Master Plan workshop when they kicked that off a couple years ago, when we had a group of people and we had things around the room and we started plastering ideas up on the board. And that way we could take all that information, synthesize it down so that the Planning Commission and the staff can start synthesizing that and evaluating it and then bringing back recommendations back to the Planning Commission before we set a public hearing date. So we figured that was the best way to get the ideas out there. Dick has some background in our plan. He's helped me develop portions of the plan over the past 20 years, so he's familiar with the guts of the plan, so he can help kind of answer questions. Takes me off the hot seat, so I'm not on the defense, and let you guys kind of, do what you need to do with it, and then staff, Angela and I and Lee can help, the Planning Commission work through the process on finishing the evaluation. So it's kind of a big picture meeting to get the ideas out there, see what the board's objectives are relative to land use and development. We'll probably also invite recreation, leisure services in, since they just finished the leisure services master plan. Some of these ideas the board might have may kind of bleed over into the recreation master plan work too, especially with open space and preservation. That's kind of bleeds over into the master plan a little bit. It's dealt with in our master plan generally. It's dealt with the recreation master plan more specifically. Since we don't know what's going to come out of this, we'll just kind of let it flow. And
Will the public be able to participate?
yeah, we'll just notice it as a public workshop in the paper, and I'm sure Darrell will probably do a short article on it, and anybody who's welcome can come and participate. So.
Jeff, do you think it'd be a good idea if we sat down with you and Angela prior to that?
After that, we want the Planning Commission board to get the ideas on the table in terms of what their issues and concerns are first.
So it's going in my mind is lots road, lots road, lots road.
Well, yeah, that's an issue, and that's already that's about the only thing that's on my radar screen right now, but I don't know what everybody else has.
I'm sure everybody's got
We've got new
some
board members,
areas
and they
that
have different perspectives about things, and we want to make sure all of that gets on the table, and we understand where everybody's coming from and what the priorities should be. And then once we kind of know what everybody's interests are, then we can start digesting that and figuring out whether or not it's relevant to the comprehensive plan, whether it's relevant to something else. Things that come out of that may go, into the township strategic plan. There might be ideas that come out of that may not necessarily be land use related. But a lot of these things are interrelated, and there's a lot of bleed over from one area to the other. So we just need to get the ideas on the table.
So from a broad perspective, broad input, will we then start to narrow down and
Right.
maybe even have a subcommittee
Right.
established?
Right after that meeting, we'll have to set up a subcommittee of the Planning Commission to work with staff. Sometimes there's a couple subcommittees that are broken up into, there might be two groups that are broken up, and this group will work maybe with Angela on these issues, another group will work with me on another set of issues like we did last time. I think last time we had a Lots Road group, we had a Michigan Avenue group, that kind of thing. And that way, we can kind of conquer and divide and then bring all of those ideas back into basically a study session with the planning commission before we authorize any public hearing and notice work, so.
Do you anticipate this being maybe a 6-month-long journey?
Our goal is to finish up in November, so.
November? Okay.
Yeah. So we get it started in June, have another study session, follow-up study session with the planning commission in July or August, and then September, October, November, we got about a 3-month window for notification and public hearing.
So you'll set it up with Carlisle Wortman and then put out a
Yeah,
public
right now, Dick
notice?
says he's available on the 12th. We just need to run the dates by the board, because I know we have another study session with the board on the 6th, the week before, on township property issues. So this might be a good rollover from that meeting to this meeting. But I wanted Pat's office to coordinate with the board members to make sure that wasn't going to be a problem of a date as we get into summer. It's the last week of school. There's a lot of stuff going on that week, so.
I mean, so did he give us 3 dates or just one? I mean, do we have 2 or 3?
Well, right now it's June 12th. June 19th would normally be our study session date, but he wasn't available on the 19th. And then we start pushing it off, though, then we start getting into July and vacations and everything else. So if we can get a majority of everybody together on the 12th, I think that's probably the best, unless there's a ton of conflicts, but right now that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, all right, sounds
How
good.
about, what time are you thinking?
7 o'clock, so. Yeah, probably, be probably a 2-hour meeting, 7 to 9. So what'll happen is, like with the Recreation Master Plan, and I think Dick did this too, I think he worked with the DDA in updating their master plan. Basically, he'll do a facilitated workshop where he kind of does a small introduction, but then kind of, breaks people up into groups, or do some type of nominal group technique and get the big ideas out there, and then everybody use sticky notes to kind of identify what the most important issues are. This may have a little bit different focus depending on what comes out, on the initial portion of the workshop. So, but Dick and I will sit down and we'll figure out kind of a structure in terms of how to get the ideas down and how to synthesize and prioritize those items. So.
Okay, for those who have not done this before, Carlisle Wortman has worked with the township on think tank type processes like this several times, and so they're very experienced at getting people to express their desires and what they want to see happen in the township.
That way, staff can kind of sit back and listen and kind of help take notes and not be involved in directing the discussion either. So that's a benefit for us, that we can sit down back and listen a little bit, so.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else to add? Anything else going on?
So.
Hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Of course not.
Okay, thanks.